Welcome to just about 5 o'clock on Monday. I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas, and we make a point of not doing our program on Monday morning and sending it out because that's not a smart thing to do. However, if you have to do a Monday conversation or a connection, try and make it a little bit later in the day and make sure that it's nothing high pressure, just something maybe a little more casual, relaxed, and maybe reflective. So today I'd like to just visit about the romance of radio. That's right. There really is what we call the romance of radio. And then I'm going to suggest that it might be helpful to you, and you might like to be cloned, and perhaps you need to tell your college graduate or high school graduate friends that they need to learn a little bit about that romantic medium, which of course I call radio. And a radio program called Interesting Ideas begins right now. Well, how did Monday go? One of the leadership things that I sometimes taught, because what you really need to know is that the workflow in a business, there are certain things about the day. Now, of course, we say, thank goodness or whatever, it's Friday or something like that. And of course, Wednesday's the hump day. And of course, I've pointed out that oftentimes Thursday is a little bit of, I call it, turbulence day. And Monday, oftentimes you're dealing with the Monday malaise. So what you need to do is, as a leader, you need to make sure that you're understanding how people tend to make their days, and how the days tend to make people as we go through the week. However, for leadership people, after a busy Monday, now this is just for leadership people, but that includes primarily you, I would sometimes say to them, all right, give me a call at the end of the office day on Monday and just tell me what happened. And then, may I offer a suggestion? Just, or a commendation, or a celebration, or a, uh-oh, let's see if we can deal with that disruption. But it's good to, at the end of Monday, take some time out, maybe have something a little stronger, relax, and just sit with a piece of paper, maybe a pen or pencil, and just say, Monday was, Monday is, Monday I'm going to have to do this week. Just get a little better sense of what happened on Monday and where you're going to go for the rest of the week. It's just good not to just collapse from Monday, but to give a little reflection time. Now, most of your staff, they don't want to think any more about it. But you're a leader. You need to do a little bit of a Monday mow down and just give it some thought. Well, that's what I suggest you do. But let's make it a little lighter touch. One of the things that I oftentimes found out, now, this was true, particularly in radio. We had what we called, you had to really warm up on Monday. The expression was Monday mouth. And what that meant, and this is probably true of a lot of things, is if you were fortunate enough in radio not to have a weekend shift, you actually had like regular people, you primarily worked Monday through Friday. And other people maybe took the weekends, and they had special settings to do that. Well, if you didn't do radio Saturday, Sunday, 2 days off, you lost your edge. That is absolutely true. And you better warm up. You better be thinking about it on Sunday night during your Sunday night meeting, and you better do a little bit of getting your Monday mouth adjusted so that you were back with better diction and more energy and more of the stuff that made you on the radio. But the radio had its people who, like me, had a little bit of a romance about it. Now, let me just give you an example. I saw a picture that came across, and it's an old-fashioned picture because it's actually a little bit of an old-fashioned radio program, a radio station. But here it was, and it was taken just as the skylight was turning and the sunset was coming. And there were the 5 huge towers going straight up in the air. Now, it was wow. And the blinking lights. I remember that feeling. Now, what that meant, that was probably a AM station that had some directional formats to it. That's why it had 5 towers. If it's just a top-of-the-line FM station, it just sticks its stick way up in the air and just broadcasts, and it goes what they call vision of sight, and it goes as far as you could see for the most part in terms of that height. That's the kind of things that radio does FM. If it's an AM station, it has what is called in the nighttime a ground wave, and the different towers give it a different sense of direction, and that's where you can actually, as we used to do, is at certain times of the day, and particularly on the international radio, based on the language we were in, you actually could direct which way you were shooting the radio waves. And it's a neat feeling. It really is to, step out of the studio or step out of the transmitter and look up at those gleaming lights and hear a little the backdrop of the program. It was really cool. And if you were in the kind of situation where I was, where it was a 500,000 watt powerful radio station, this literally was true. You had so much radio frequency waves that I could go out and just stand in the parking lot and hold up a fluorescent light, and it would glow. The radio waves from the towers would actually electrolyte the fluorescent. Now you wonder, is that good for you or what else? But that's what happened. And that's just my way of saying is that had a certain neat feeling about it. And there is something also very neat of sitting in a studio, and particularly if you're doing late night radio, you turn down the lights and you get kind of a ambience to it, and you kind of think it's just me and a million people, and they're listening to me. Maybe it's just 1,000 people. Maybe it's just 100 people. Who cares? But they're listening to me. And do you know how neat it feels to be listened to? Yeah. Do you know how neat that feels? And so that's why there was a certain romance about radio. And in some cases, it's still there. And I just point that out because it was very strongly a human element that made it romantic. Now, there's a very good chance that there is nobody running the radio station. The radio robots have already begun to come into place. Yeah, they have now where the machine, the robot, is taking in weather data, is taking in reports of traffic and of news, and they are able to have a cloned voice or a created voice. By the way, I have discovered that my voice has been cloned. We'll talk about that if you care later. But in effect, that's what was happening. It was, in effect, a robot. It was nobody talking, hopefully, to somebody. And there's not a glamour to that. So the romance of radio was very, very real, and that's why people loved it, and they did it for years, and they were so happy about it. Now, after a while, it gets really old to keep the hours, and eventually, many of them said, radio is for young people. It requires so much energy and personality, and after a while, and then if you were a good radio guy or a gal or man or a woman, is you tried to then bring younger men and women in to kind of, proxy them, sponsor them, make them a little bit of a mentoring, maybe a little bit of a cloning of you and your personality and your edge, and send them on their way. And so part of the romance of radio, at least, was that the fact that even though you weren't quite the voice anymore, but your voice influence was continuing on in the lives of other people. So that was something very, very neat. Now, the reason I point that out to you is I just simply ask, is that something like you have in your work today? Just think about that now. I just saw a Hallmark program with my wife where one of the major themes is as I think who was it, Matisse, who was a banker who just finally said, I quit. This is not what I want to do. I want to paint. And he did. Where the man just simply, when he was going through the difficulties of foreclosing on people, just kind of threw up his hands and say, I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. This is not giving me the sense of romance and the feel and all of the things that I was hoping would go into the job. So I'm just asking you to think about that. Now, I'm also going to challenge you to think about how your college-age kids, your college-age friends, I tell them, even though real radio is disappearing in terms of the towers and transmitters, the ability to know how to use the podcast, the video, and the broadcast medium will be increasing in the digital world, not just, quote, the radio world. And the more you can know about how to reach people by the radio way, the better you will have a chance in business to be valuable. Raise your hand and say, I know how to do the promos. I know how to do the conversations. I know how to do the video programs. I know how to do the podcasts. I can make sure that the Zoom calls are really kind of neat and not boring. I know how to be a person who can handle a microphone and handle a camera and communicate both with clients and colleagues and would-be customers. I can do that. I'm good at that. And to have that skill along with whatever professional skill or aptitude they have will make you that much more valuable. Hey, one more thing, and then I'm done on a Monday. I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas, and we'll be back.
'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight.
I did it. I have probably done over 700 of these podcasts. Now, I've done thousands of radio programs, but 700 of these podcasts, and they have been lining up in a YouTube channel that was kind of not very good because it was just put together by a friend some years ago. What I did is I'm now taking all of my old programs and I put it on a brand new YouTube channel, and it is interesting. It's kind of fun, and already I'm having people jump in and listening to programs that I did 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I guess that's good. But if you'd like to do that, it's just go to YouTube, and it's called, you got it, the Interesting Ideas Podcast. Stan Houston. And all of a sudden, these old programs are popping up. And as I started to post them 50 each day, all of a sudden, people, for some reason, are finding what I said helpful and useful, and they're jumping in. So I just thank you for doing that, and I would encourage you to go back and just say, hey, that might be helpful. But while you do that, I'll just simply say, wouldn't you like to be able to do that yourself? You know how long that stuff's going to be there? A long, 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 long time. Because as long as there's an internet, it will be there long after I am, as we say in the business, a silent voice. And when that happens, I guess maybe that's a little bit why when you go to my website at WebStage, because it's a performance, at witradio.net, this will teach you how to become a world-class podcaster. That's right, it's there. You'll start learning how to do that. witradio.net, you will see what we say is we will help you to reach your audience. Do that. Bring your message to life. Give it life. And maybe just a touch of immortality. I know that perhaps long after I'm gone, if there has been any wisdom, insight, and truth, it will live on after me. Why don't you explore that possibility for you, your business, the things you believe in, the causes that turn you on, the things that make you fully alive? Share them with others and just see what might happen. Hey, all the best and blessings to you. Stan Houston at gmail.com. Stan Houston at gmail.com. Check it out, and we'll be back soon. Bye for now.